Welcome at the Institute of Remote Perception. I'm Alexander Fiddiger, and today we welcome Mandy Paul, the healing medium. Welcome, Mandy. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Nice. Mandy, you're you are a medium, and you call yourself the healing medium. So, what exactly is the meaning of that healing? So what can you do as the healing medium?
Okay, as a medium, giving messages to people using consciousness, the healing side of mediumship is more of a psychic sense. So you are manipulating matter, not only close up, but also at a distance. Okay, so all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. Okay, so the fact is that when I do readings for mediumship purposes, is communicating with the consciousness of the person that has passed over. And it's a spherical scenario where you are communicating with the consciousness of that person that passed over. So physically, in a sense, it's their etheric selves, which is communicated with my etheric self, which is coming through, giving the messages for the person who needs the message from their family that's passed over. As a healer, the healing side of that scenario is also giving healing to that person from that message that's been given with the consciousness of that person that's passed. Okay, so the healing side to it is a frequency. Okay, so it's not coming from you physically; it's coming through your auric field, your etheric self, and all your other bodies. Okay, like in your auric field. So, for example, if you have somebody who has got an ailment with a bad leg or a bone injury, you can communicate with consciousnesses who have passed over who would have dealt with that kind of scenario. So if you had a doctor that came through that worked with bones, for example, you would ask for his consciousness to come close to ask to help to heal this person. But it would work on a subconscious level more than a conscious level. So they choose you as the medium, which you are just the one that goes in between to bring that energy through to heal that person's leg, for example.
Mhm. Wonderful. Yeah. So those abilities to talk to those spirits, um, where did this come from? Do you have this for the whole of your life, or when did you realize you can talk to spirits?
When I was 3, I had a lady that approached me in a supermarket with my mother. My mother was just about a few yards away from me, and this lady approached me. And the interesting thing with this lady, I was in a supermarket that was quite colourful, but this lady was in black and white,
Mhm.
as though she'd stepped from the doorway of this building and stepped inside the shop. And she wasn't colourful at all, she was just in black and white. And she just said to me, "Are you shopping with your grandma?" I says, "No, I'm shopping with my mum. She's just there." And as I turned to my mum and I turned back, she disappeared. And as a child, 3 years, 4 years old, I just accepted that fact. But because I accepted that fact for that particular individual, when I looked at the photos, when I told my mum about the story, she asked me to look at a picture of her mum, and it was her mum.
Mhm.
So your family are always with you, no matter what age you're actually at. So as I went through my childhood, more and more occurrences started to appear. And this one instant that really sticks in my mind is when I was 15. And I was looking in the mirror, and my grandfather was looking back at me. Now, my grandfather, I'm one of 6 children. He'd never seen any of us because he passed away when my mother was 19.
Mhm.
So I thought, if he's looking back at me, he must be stood at the side of me. Okay?
Mhm.
When I looked at the side of me, he clearly wasn't there, and I slept with a light on for 3 weeks because at that point I thought, oh my goodness me. I wasn't frightened, I was just amazed. So that resonated without me throughout my life. And as things started to progress, I started to tell my father, and he'd had similar experiences. And then I was curious, and it made me really curious to understand what mediumship or what was happening with me at that time. So then I started to read books on psychics and mediums and healers and such things to understand what was happening and why.
Mhm.
And then some years ago, I spoke to my father's brother because my father had passed away and asking him the questions. And he said to me, "You do know that your grandmother was a medium."
Mhm.
Right. That will explain the situation more. So I basically decided to myself that I would maybe join a spiritualist church and see it further. So for some 27 years ago, when I went to the spiritualist church, the the existence of knowledge and understanding has just really escalated. And then obviously there's different faiths within that. You know, you've got your Buddhism, your Judaism, your Catholic, your Christianity, and all them kind of things, all for me, amalgamated into one. All the research and such things that I've done over the time. So when you realize that you have this communication skill, which I feel we all have, because it's a frequency. So once we can reach or attain that frequency and understand what it actually means and represents, then you can start using it for the good.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, you said you are one of six children, right?
Yes.
Are you the only medium within that child, or have you relatives or other siblings who are
Well,
mediums as well?
I did have two brothers and three sisters, and one of my brothers has passed. He really didn't understand all of this kind of thing.
Mhm.
My other brother, on the other hand, is a Buddhist, and we both have similar attributes to Buddhism because of and Buddhism is a state of mind, not actually a religion, but it's a frequency of mind, and it's attained through meditation and understanding and obviously knowledge. Now, my sister, on the other hand, she's always seen, but she's told me the stories, but she doesn't use it or wants to use it and finds it a little bit woo-woo in her world. My other two sisters have also seen spirit consciousness and accepted that.
Mhm.
I feel that they have the opportunity if they wanted to explore further, but decide not to.
Mhm. Okay.
They ask me lots of questions and such things, how and why, and I've explained to them about our grandmother being a medium. Explaining that my grandfather played the organ in the spiritualist church when she was doing the mediumship and everything else that went with it. And it all fell into place. And they do ask me questions. How do I know these things? And what's your quest and why are you continuing? Because mediumship's not a destination; it's a journey.
Okay. So you said it's a frequency, and every person is able to learn stuff like that. So when you say you can see spirits and you talk to spirits, what do you reckon? What kind of frequency is this, and how does this work? So how can another person learn to do the same like you?
Well, for me, for them to understand and learn better is through meditation.
Mhm.
Meditation allows your thoughts to come to the surface. And then once they come to the surface, there's nothing else that can come to the surface. So then you're in that frequency of mind, which is just who you actually are. Okay, so when you meditate on a regular basis, which I have been for like 27 years plus now,
Mhm.
you are allowing every thought that you've had throughout that day to be eliminated from your consciousness. So then what happens then? You're in a phase of frequency to receive information that you need right now, that moment in time. Okay. So for people to understand, to develop their consciousness, if you will, is the word I want to look at. Not necessarily their brain, their consciousness is just to allow, to surrender to the universal consciousness that's open to each and every one of us on the planet.
Mhm. Exactly. So you are an out of body facilitator as well. So out of body is kind of another technique than what you do when you see spirits, right?
Well, when you're coming out of your body, because obviously I'm a remote viewer also, I'm able to see the destination of where that person actually is.
Mm.
So for the outer body experience, I understand now how and why that is. Now, when the out of body experience found me by accident, and it was when I was giving somebody some healing, and they met up with their family, having a conversation like we are right now, but were conscious of the experience.
Mhm.
And I was curious of how can that be. So I did further research to understand, obviously through meditation. Buddhist monks allow this to happen on a daily basis, which are always in a monastery and never in the mainstream, which it should be in the mainstream now and not just in the monastery. So when you are having this, it's a natural thing. We all have outer bodies on a daily, regular basis, but we're not conscious of it. It depends upon your frequency, which will determine. So we're half here and half in the afterlife, if you want to call it the afterlife, okay? So we're retrieving information all the time, yeah? But it's how we deal with that information and what's that purpose of that information that you're receiving. So, for example, people might want to call it manifesting, people want to call it, abundance, they want to call it all sorts of different things that's coming to them specifically for them, but it's coming for everybody. It's just not a singular frequency, it's for everybody to have
Mhm.
at any time that they want it. Okay. So, when you're coming out of your body, you not only am I coming out my body and allow others to follow the frequency which I bring within a group, so where they can all reach the same frequency of consciousness. So basically, they're utilizing the energy that's been stored within my auric field, yeah, coming through with the energy from the consciousness of the universal consciousness, allowing me to project anybody who wants to be in the group into the afterlife. Why I understand how this actually has become due to years of practice and meditation has allowed me to reach a frequency called the rainbow body.
Mhm.
Now, what the rainbow body actually represents is just light. Okay, you are the light. Each and every one of us is light. But that actual frequency, which is the rainbow body, literally means clear seeing. So everything that you see right now is an obstacle. When you are at that frequency, which I can come to that in a while, is literally you can see things at distance without any obstacles in the way. Okay, so your perception is extremely heightened when you need it to be. Okay, so when in groups that I have, when we come out of our bodies, we all go to the same destination and see the same things. And people say to me, well, I've tried to do it on my own. Well, good luck with that and see how you go. And they've always come back to me and said, I couldn't come out my body. I just couldn't come out my body. So, well, let's try it again and see where you're at. So, the more you practice coming out of your body, it's like learning to drive.
Mhm.
Once you know how to press the pedals, turn the key, and press the buttons, it becomes natural. And that's to drive a car. The more you come out of your body, the more you start to stream information on a clearer level. The more that you understand yourself, your etheric self, and your other bodies that you have with you. And that way, then you see, you know exactly where you need to be in your life at this moment in time.
Mhm.
So it's a frequency, and that frequency does take time and energy and effort to attain. So if I can offer that to the world, that's what I shall do.
Okay, nice, nice. Um, so how often should somebody practice to meditate and to do this stuff to reach yeah, this ability to do this?
Well, it's everybody's meditation system's different, but for my meditation system that I use, is twice a week, same situation, same place, for a guided 10-minute, no longer, meditation for about 4 weeks. So you're sitting in the same place twice a week for 15 minutes on any guided meditation for 10 minutes. Okay.
Mhm.
One that you choose that resonates with you because everybody has a different one. You know, you can use there's various apps, but then you've got your attaching yourself to your phone, which is recommended, not recommended. You need to be where you're not distracted.
Mhm.
So you have earphones on and you're listening to a guided meditation for no longer than 10 minutes. And what will happen after a couple of weeks? Your consciousness starts to get excited, okay? Knowing full well that you're going to give your consciousness time, not only for the universe, but also for yourself. And
Mhm.
it's not a selfish act, it's a selfless act, okay? So for 4 weeks, this is what you continue to do. And it seems like it's a long time, 4 weeks, but to me, it's not a long time.
Yeah.
But when you start the practice, every time you start each, which is obviously 8 sessions in 4 weeks, every session you take for them 4 weeks before you start your meditation is you must surrender.
Mhm.
Because we as humans like to control each and everything that's around us. And that's the detrimental parts of unhealthiness. Makes you unhealthy when you try to control things. So by surrendering to your etheric self, you're allowing your physical self to heal.
Mhm.
So your physical self will stay here in the quantum field to be healed. Okay? And then after the 4 weeks, you do exactly the same, but for 15 minutes, unguided.
Mhm.
And then it's up to you how you feel from that point. And there is further more into that, but maybe that might be another interview.
Okay. Um, so there's one thing, lots of people are afraid on the thought to leave their bodies. So probably um, because of they have the fear of not be able to come back, or to get lost anywhere. And so what you can what do you can give them for an advice, or how do they can overcome this fear?
To overcome that fear is you have to trust yourself.
Mm.
And the other issue is TV and media that's put literally the fear into you.
Yeah.
So if you didn't watch the television, you didn't watch films and such things, you would never have any fear. And that's the biggest thing. And the opposite to fear is love in my eyes. Okay.
Mhm.
So obviously, when you're sat with somebody who facilitates this experience, you do get to know them a little bit because then they put you at ease and so forth. But what happens is with that fear, it's sometimes buried in your subconscious mind. So whatever happened to you, maybe when you were a child, something happened that frightened you, the fear comes in then when you start to come out of your body. And I have had many people that just got to the brink of coming out and then come back in because of that fear. Like you said, will I come back in my body? Will I be the same person? Of course, you'll be the same person.
Mm.
We're going out of your body with your etheric self. Yeah. So your etheric self is coming, my etheric self, going to the destination of your choice and who you'd like to meet or where you'd like to go. So you are not limited, you are limitless.
Mhm.
But this implementation of having this experience of an out of body, there is guided tapes that you can use and try, but all that actually does is just bring you out of your body to look back at yourself. I find that a bit of a useless purpose. Surely, if you're going to allow yourself to come out to travel where you'd like to go,
Mm.
that's my perception. When I was a child and it was happening to me coming out on a regular basis, I think I was only about 10 or 11 when it first happened. I was there, was just floating above my body. And I looked out of the window and, I stayed in my bedroom, but I was moving around in my bedroom. And I thought, wow, where else could I go? So obviously you can imagine where the places I've been seen since, and obviously with the groups that I have too.
Mhm.
But when you start to looking in for something that's important to a specific individual, for example, they might want to go and see how their mother is or how their father is or what are they doing now? Where are they? Are they okay? This is a lot of questions that I get asked. Let's go and see. So that's what we do. I have
Okay.
many of testimonials of people of their experiences and how they felt afterwards too.
Mm. So, and when people do this for themselves, how do they know that they are really going out of their body and not just having a fantasy in their head?
Because they can see themselves.
Ah, okay.
The majority of people who've said to me when they've looked back at themselves and they've said, is that really me?
Mm.
The first thing they say, I need to lose weight, I need to grow my hair, I need to do this, I need to do that. So then obviously when they've finally had that conversation with themselves, they've turned to me and I says, right, where are we going? And usually we step outside of wherever they live initially. And then I say, where would you like to go? And that's when we go. So I'm just facilitating your experience,
Mm.
literally the rocket fuel to the afterlife. This one time, which was a very unique experience for this lady, she felt like she was Superwoman because she was flying like Superman, but only on her side. She couldn't get over, but she was on her side, but she didn't mind. And we went to this waterfall. And when we reached this waterfall, her mother was there and my mother was there too.
Mhm.
Her mother knew my mother in life. We just stood there like, wow, in front of our mothers thinking, wow, they knew each other when they were alive. So she gave her mother a hug and I did mine too. And she says, Mum, I can't stay. I need to go and explore. So we just took off again to various destinations that she wanted to see first because she didn't think she'd have long enough to be out of the body. So what a 4 minute exploration of out of the body could be up to 15, 20, 24 hours in
Wow.
in the afterlife. So our density here is really dense. And when you go into the afterlife, which is extremely light, because you have no physical vessel to drag around with, you've
Mhm.
just got your etheric. So once you start to understand your etheric self and how it operates and what it wants and likes to do, that's when you'll start to realize what we are more than our physical body.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah. Um, so can you give us some examples what people can do with it in their in their life? So practical things to use OBE or to use these abilities to speak to spirits and can I use it to yeah maybe to change to change my life so to make myself a better life or to yeah to develop myself physically mentally and maybe yeah
Well, emotionally, yes. So what happens is, you
yeah
see, we have all have a physical vessel, and then we have a four etheric selves. Okay,
mhm,
so you've got your physical vessel, you've got your etheric vessel, your spiritual vessel, your emotional vessel, and then you've got your bliss body,
mhm,
and they're all throughout your life are fragmented. This is you, and this is all the fragmentation. And what happens with them fragmentations throughout our lives that we're sometimes not consciously aware of the fragmentation, it all eliminates from this experience. Because when you pass over, when you leave this physical world into the etheric world, you have you actually become with the knowledge of a Cambridge scholar because you're not onto this physical self no more. You're into the knowledgeable etheric world, okay?
mhm,
So you become really highly intelligent. So when you look back at the physical self, think, well, really, was in that body? What did I learn from that time? So whatever you learned in that time, that's up to you. Everybody's each and every one of us are different. So once you start putting yourself back in sync with yourself, instead of going to the windy path that you've been on, you go to the straight path where you're supposed to be. And this is where you are, I feel, is today. So you are becoming who you were supposed to become in the first instance.
yeah
So we can go out through our lives and get to 67 thinking, I know what I should have been doing.
yeah
So why do we have to wait till then when it can come sooner?
mhm,
So what people will learn from coming out of their bodies and meeting not only up with loved ones or traveling the places they really want to travel to, they are eliminating that fear of death. And that's what it's about. It's eliminating the fear of death. Lots of people who do pass always see the family around them just before they pass. Why do we have to wait till then when we could all have a catch up beforehand?
yeah
So then you see you can retrieve information from them that you need right now here. Okay, so when you come out of your body and, for example, you go to Mount Everest and you stood on Mount Everest, you're thinking, what a view.
mm,
It's beautiful. You won't think about what you're supposed to be doing tomorrow or the day after. You stood on Mount Everest, you're enjoying the view. You don't feel cold because you're in your etheric self and not your physical self. And it's just free. You're free. The freedom feeling is unbelievable. And once you set yourself free, literally, your world is your oyster.
mm. Yeah, beautiful. Um, you just said, for example, when I stay on top of the Mount Everest. So when I'm out of my body and I'm going to places like that, what are the expressions I get there? Do I have the same physical expressions than I have with my usual body, or is it something else what I feel or see, or do I feel temperature? Do I smell the air, or what? How is it?
You feel normal. It's a
Okay.
normal feeling. It's a feeling that you've felt before,
Mm,
but you wasn't consciously aware of it. But when you get to see it, feel it and sense it, yeah, you realize why you came into that physical vessel in the first instance, because you choose which physical vessel that you're going to be using.
mhm,
You've already chosen your parents before you came here, okay, to bring you into the world and to give you the knowledge that you seek.
mm, okay.
So that's what we go through our lives to attain knowledge, understanding, love. Yeah, there is no war, no hate, no nothing like that. It's just all love. That's what I feel the world needs more right now. And it always has needed love and peace.
Mhm,
When you're out of your body, it's extremely peaceful. So when people leave this, I would call it chaos on earth,
mhm,
and they go into their etheric selves, into the etheric world, you are becoming who you truly are meant to be, which you then are a beacon of light for those who are here.
mhm,
So when we're coming back in the consciousness, communicating with a medium, that consciousness will choose which medium he wants to come through. Yeah? They'll always choose because many a medium and many a person has said, my dad won't come through anybody else but you. Why is that? I ask myself, why is that? It's because one, there's trust, two, there's understanding, and three, I've been there many times. So they know who you are once you come out of your body. They know who you are.
mhm.
So they trust your etheric self and clearly will trust your physical self.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we become more self-aware and more, yeah, we are more in trust with ourselves, with our decisions, and
We
what?
are we are a beacon of light for others.
Yeah, yeah. So what role does intuition play in that?
Intuition, we all have intuition, but sometimes we don't know how to utilize it for the right reasons. And a lot of it comes again down to fear
Mm,
of what if I make a mistake? So people worry about making a mistake. I've done many of services and been to lectures and services for mediumship and such things. And there's times when I've been stood on a platform with 80 people in the room and the spirit consciousness has come close and nobody can take this information from this person that's passed. Okay.
mhm,
So for me, I just allow them to wait in the balance for when that person does finally arrive in that room. And most of the time they're late, but they already knew they were coming. They've been late, they've come in 5, 10 minutes later. And then I'm getting that nudge again. Come on, you need to give this information to this lady because I'm here. So standing on there, most people would have wanted the earth to swallow them up or they wanted to leave the room. But no, I wait, I'm patient. So for mediumship to take place, you have to have extreme patience because they are trying their hardest in the etheric world to come close because it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy,
mhm,
depending upon their energy systems, to give that information through you to the person that needs it.
mhm,
But once the energy of that person at a particular time knew that they was in the room, they couldn't wait for me to pass that information on to them. And it was successful for those because they needed it and they come in. There were three of them, and they all got what they needed from this lady that had passed over. And there were lots of love in that room and lots of laughter.
Mm.
So she needed to pass that information on to them. And it's interesting thing because people say to me, how do you know the male? How do you know the female?
Mm.
I says, because they tell me who they are. And John won't be a female, and Sarah won't be a male. Okay? So you know who they are when you're communicating because they tell you who they was when they was in this physical self.
Mm. Wow, that's cool. So, the main topic of the institute is extrasensory perception,
Yeah.
all the topics within it. So, is it? I think it has to be, but is it? I think it's possible when we are out of our bodies and we are on another place. Is it possible that we can meet with other persons who are out of their bodies themselves at the same time and communicate with them? So like a different way of communicating, not with telepathy, but OBE. So is that possible? That would be a
Yes.
very, very interesting thing, you know?
Yes, I went to the Monroe Institute a couple of years ago and did something called the Mind Miller Exploration.
Uh-huh.
And I was spoken to the co-director there, Nancy, and we decided to do an experiment to see if we could do that.
Right.
So there was three participants and me as well, and we was all with the EEG machines, all on separate screens, and we decided to do the experiment. I didn't foresee where we was going because that would implement that that's where we would be going. My consciousness already decided where we were all going before we went. So we were all on the screen, and as it progressed, the outer body, we all went out of the body at the same time. But before, as Nancy was watching on the screen, we were all in sync together. And then 4 minutes went flatline.
Mhm. Okay.
And then after the 4 minutes, it went back in sync. But then 4 minutes felt like hours. We felt like we was out hours, 20 hours or whatever in our timeline.
Mhm.
So we all went outside to the crystal.
Mhm.
All three of us, four of us, were stood at the crystal having a conversation consciously.
Wow.
And we're all saying, how can that be? So our bodies are in that room there, our physical selves, and our etheric selves are outside here having a conversation about what we're doing this week and the Mind Mirror. Yes. So we didn't want to go back into our bodies because we was happy chatting outside like we are now. So there were one gentleman and two ladies. The two ladies were there first with me. As the gentleman came, he was about 10 yards away from us and then finally caught up. And he said, why am I stood over there and you're stood here? I says, because part of you had a little bit of fear that
Mhm.
it does it really work? And that's the fear that he actually had. So when we got all together, we were just hugging each other, talking to each other. How can this be? We're all stood outside here and our physical vessels are in there. But then when we all came back into sync again, when we'd opened our eyes, the gentleman just had tears
Mhm.
coming down his face because he had to surrender to his etheric self to
Mhm.
be able to come out of his body.
Yeah.
The other two ladies were just ecstatic and felt absolutely brand new. They felt that they were brand new, as though they'd had a reset. So Nancy suggested we'd all had a reset, or should I say, all died simultaneously and had a reset in
Mhm.
the etheric self, not in the physical self, just in the etheric self. So we'd all, in theory, with because of the flat line on the screen, the nothingness, if you will, but obviously there were nothing going through that for 4 minutes. So they're still doing the further research on what that frequency is. So we're working on that now, what that frequency is. We're getting closer to it to
Mhm.
understand when we actually do leave this physical world into the etheric world, what is that frequency? So we're working on that now. So when we were all there, they didn't want to come back in their bodies.
Mm,
because they were just so ecstatic, so light, so vibrant, so full of life, more so than the physical selves,
yeah.
because they'd eliminated the fear. It had eliminated the whole fear of why they thought they couldn't come out of their body in the first place. But we know that we come out of our bodies every night, but we're not consciously aware of it. But through the dedication and meditation, the understanding of frequencies and mind and such, that has allowed me to offer that situation for these people to have this experience. And we still today talk about it 2 years on. How is that? And they've never been able to do it since.
Mm,
So if they want to do it again, they give me a call. I need to come out my body. I need to go and explore this particular thing, and that particular thing. So I think eventually, as the earth is starting to shift and we are understanding, like with the likes of these different institutions opening, for people to understand that literally we are more than our physical selves. More and more people will want to do it and to understand it and to learn it.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and why not? Because we don't need any more fear in the world. We just need more love and more peace.
Definitely, definitely we do. Yeah, and we have a growing spiritual community on the planet at the moment, so that's very, very good. And so what you just said was absolutely amazing. So that you stood there, have a chat, and nobody wants to go back, because of everybody's excited. So absolutely wonderful. Is it possible to contact somebody who is not out of body? So can you bring an information when you are out of body? Can you bring an information or contact a person who's not out of the body? So it's just
Yes,
in the usual
physical
environment.
self. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking about communicating with people who've passed over and people who are not passed over.
Not past or just living people. Yeah.
Living. Yeah, yeah. You can communicate with people. They would call it in this terminology as telepathy.
Hmm.
But you can influence anybody anywhere on the planet through your consciousness thoughts.
Wow.
So if you wanted to put some positive thoughts out there to say some president, for example, you could send in positive vibes, as people would call it. You don't want to send any negative vibes. You just want to send positive vibes. So it depending upon the vibe of the person, if they wanted to receive that information. Because you know yourself, sometimes you can think of a family or a family member, and then next minute they're calling you.
Hmm.
So you've communicated with them consciously, but
Yeah.
you're not consciously aware of it. You just said, "Oh, I've just been thinking about you," and they've connected with you.
Hmm.
But when you're talking about communicating with people, for example, just say Gandhi's not, even though he's not here, to communicate with him, or go out of your body to him and ask him questions and retrieve the information from him. That's obviously somebody who's passed.
Hmm.
But when you want to get in touch, like say if I want to get in touch with you, yeah, we could do an experiment to see if I can communicate with you and tell you something, and then for you to receive that information back to me to know.
Hmm.
So that's the ESP, the extrasensory perception, which we all actually have, but we don't always use it. Okay, so for example,
Hmm.
many people say to me, well, I always ask if the angels for a car parking space when I can't find one. Well, next time you ask them for a car parking space, ask them um, what registration numbers are in the registration plate, and also ask what make of car is it to see
Hmm.
if they will show you. And that's just on a car example, but for a person, you would communicate with them through your thoughts and send to them maybe a shape, maybe a number, maybe a sentence, maybe a picture. And then they have to describe it back to you, which has actually been tested and proven, I think, at the Edgar Cayce. So when you understand that you can communicate with consciousness of people who's passed over, and you can communicate with people who haven't passed over,
Hmm.
it's quite a unique opportunity then to understand somebody consciously,
Yeah.
not necessarily physically. So when people look at a person and think, oh, well, I like that person, but I don't know what they're really like, ask your consciousness to communicate with them to see if they're okay.
Yeah.
So we might call it a gut instinct, but you have to have them in unison with your mind and with your intuitiveness to know whether they're a nice or a safe person.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
when you wanted, for example, I think one time I was communicating with my nephew. He'd had leukemia and he was very poorly.
Hmm.
And he was in hospital. And I said to my sister, how is he? Because we couldn't get to see him because obviously for infections and such things. And she said, well, it's not been great today. I said, it's okay. I'm going to go and talk to him when he's asleep.
Hmm.
So I decided to communicate with him and explain to him that everything's going to be fine and have a really conversation with him. I think I only sat there for about 10 minutes talking to him in my conscious mind. The morning after she rang me, she said, I don't know what you said to him. She said, but he sat up in bed, drinking a coffee and reading paper.
Okay.
I said, well, I told her what I said to him. I said, well, I'm going to ask him when I see him. But he just said he woke up and he felt really refreshed. So I'd send that energy to him in words, yeah, which obviously travel fast, but the consciousness is far faster than the words because
Mhm.
it's in a dense environment. But your consciousness is such a light, fast speed
Yeah.
beam, if you will, that went
Yeah.
direct to him. Yes, he was a family member, but it went direct to him. And he felt great that morning. He sat up, like I said, had a cup of coffee and read a magazine. She was blown away.
Mm.
But I already told her what I was going to do for him.
Mhm.
So people will call that healing. Okay, so we all have this ability to send that positive vibe out, we're all healers, yeah? But it's the believing in the healing ability that we all actually have to understand that we all are healers, whether it's through our words, through our actions, through our kindness, or through your love. We
Mm.
are all healers. And have you ever wondered sometime why people keep coming to you because they need to talk to you because they know that you understand.
Yeah.
So because they're attracted to that healing energy that you are offering. And they call it in England, they call it absent healing,
Mhm.
which you can send healing thoughts to each and everybody on the planet every night if you wanted to. So you're being selfless, yeah? You're acting, giving an act of limitlessness to each and every individual living thing on the planet.
Mm. Yeah. And it's the same with animals. They can sense those abilities as well.
We have the same instincts as an animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just think it's woo-woo or it's not right, that can't be. And they're cut off from it or shut themselves away. But really they're inflicting harm upon themselves by not allowing it just to flow through us.
Mm.
So the more you're in the flow, as they used to say, get in the flow. It's a phrase.
Yeah.
Being in the flow, be fluid, be like water, like Bruce Lee used to say.
Hmm.
You know, so that's what we need to be focusing on more,
Yeah.
is allowing
Exactly.
that energy to flow through us all.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Um, you said we experience out of body yeah experiences every night in our dreams. So do you think dreaming really is going out of our bodies, or is it just brain work?
I
Something.
think dreaming, I think we are out of our bodies, which we come out of our bodies every night.
Okay.
Dreaming, whatever you want to call it, dreaming, we are having an out-of-body experience every night, but we're not conscious of that. And
So
to experience that on a regular basis, you can induce that. But what happens is once you're out of your body, you everything's all clean, everything's perfect.
mm,
That for me is reality. Yeah, this is the earth. What we're actually on right now is to learn as much as we can. Then when we go to sleep at night, you can ask yourself to come out of your body
mm,
and then retrieve the information back. But most of the time, when you retrieve the information back from the dream that you had, there's always bits missing. You don't get the full information. With an out of body experience consciously, you're getting each and every bit of information.
okay.
So when you're unconscious, which you're in a delta frequency, when you're fast asleep, yeah, you go into they would call it a deeper state of mind, but you're actually going a higher frequency.
Mm,
You're like the monks stated when you are meditating, you go into like a couple of beats a minute, so you're in a delta state of mind, and then you're jumping into gamma.
Mhm.
And the gamma frequency is the highest frequency at the moment that's registered or monitored at the moment. Probably going to be further frequencies as time goes on.
Yeah.
But that gamma state of mind and in a delta state is the one that you are aware of in the gamma, but not in the delta. So when you have these out of these bodies when you are asleep, you're not consciously aware of you leaving your body. Some people are. Some people see themselves back in the bed, but they don't go anywhere. They just see themselves asleep because they have a fear of going any further. Will they come back in the body? Yeah.
Mhm.
Will I get back in that body? Well, why won't you get back in that body? Because it's not your time yet. You know? So I feel that we already know when our time is, but are we conscious of it?
Mhm. Yeah.
So the more you have these experiences, whether it's within a group or through meditation and such things, and doing it on a regular basis, you would never know, would you? So that's why people have dream journals. But them dream journals is actually reality. So if you start writing down from this day forward, dating it and reading back, it could be 3 years, 3 months, 30 years. Hang on a minute, this is happening in my life right now. What I dreamt about 20 years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's important to understand
Mhm.
what the dream state is and what frequency. So that frequency for me is delta.
Mhm.
But then you're going up into theta and then up into gamma. So then you're becoming aware of what you are dreaming about, which is then as you're out of your body. Like with remote viewing, many remote viewers state they're out of the body and they go to the target.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and but they're conscious of that.
Yeah.
So it's understanding why are we not conscious more when we're asleep? But that's through the meditation.
Mhm. Okay. And you said in Delta, we are not aware of that we are out of our bodies and in dreaming. So, what is some people are able to control their dreams, their dreams. So, lucid dreaming, it's called, right?
Yes.
So, what is it? Is this already the gamma state, or is it something in between the awareness and not the awareness? So, how much information do they get from their experiences when
In
they
lucid
control?
dream, I think it's theta state where they can control their dream.
Uh-huh.
They can control the outcome of the dream, not necessarily out the body. It's two
Ah,
different
okay.
things.
Okay.
You're controlling the dream, but you're not out to the body when you do that.
Okay, so it's an absolute
In the
different.
mind, it's in the mind, yes.
Okay, so this is more than like a fantasy story, so so to say. Yeah.
How you want your dream to end. You've had must have many a time when you've felt that falling feeling and you've just woke up before you hit the ground.
Mhm.
Yeah. You've already determined that's what we're going to be happening in your lucid dream.
Mhm.
So lucid dream is a separate thing from out of body.
Mhm. Yeah, but lots of people use it to develop their self-awareness as well. So and to grow
To
themselves.
grow,
Yeah,
to grow, but only in the way they want to grow.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Good saying. Yeah, good saying.
Not how the way they're supposed to be.
Mhm. Yeah.
They could take them possibly longer to reach that frequency to be able to manipulate it more to go where they're supposed to be going.
Yeah. So let's get back to the OBE. You you are working with officials sometimes
Yes.
on different cases. So would you tell us what are you doing there? As far as I know, you're working with the police and with other officials as well. So yeah, which cases do you work there?
I do a lot of people approach me to find missing people,
Hmm.
animals, objects, and all these people that I've been able to offer these services to tell other people, obviously.
Hmm.
I've just had a lady that's approached me who's just had a degree in criminology, wants to do some work together on cases that's not been solved. So we're going to collaborate together. She does work with the CID, and she wants me to work on cases that's not been solved from years gone by.
Mhm.
where the families have never had closure because they've never found the body or they've never found the evidence that they've been seeking.
Mhm.
So she wants me to work on cases with her for that. And the purpose of being is closure, healing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cases that's been unsolved. Like the one recently with Jay Slater, when I spoke to his mum the day before they found him, the information that I gave to her was difficult for me to express because I'm talking to his mum
Yeah.
and knowing what had happened to him before they found him, because that's not where he was when they passed away. So it's difficult when you know and do these kind of work because you go out of your body to the destination, to the consciousness of that person. Okay. And it's difficult because he was only 19, he was such a young man.
Yeah.
And the information that I received, I passed on to his father. So once you've passed that information on, it's up to them to deal with that. And then, I dare say they will get to where if they want to use that information that I've passed on, or if they want to get somebody else to do that. But it's the healing that's necessary. She was fortunate enough I know it's not great that it's passed, but she was fortunate enough that she had some a physical part of the case to be able to find. So she's closure for her and she can start a healing journey. Where there's women and mothers and fathers that's not even found bodies from 15, 20, 25 years. So when you start that healing, it's a healing process once you get to know where they're at or where their bodies are for that matter. So if I can help in any way, I will. On a case at the moment with another young lad that's missing for 18 months. And I've passed on the information, but I have to step back until she starts to accept because it's a healing process and journey for her. For her to find that body from her son will help her with closure, not the whys and what fors and why, but the closure to see him again.
Mhm.
So this is the other thing that happens when I have people that approach me and other people pass on the information to these people and saying, this lady will be able to help you find this or this lady will be able to help you find that and like I have done with dogs and objects and keys and jewellery and such things. And it's closure for them and that's the healing side to things. So when you can offer that healing service to somebody who needs it the most, I'm here to oblige to help.
Yeah. But I really think it's not can be very hard for you as well, right? So how do you do
It
this?
can when it's children especially, or whether it's like you say, he were only 19, he was very young. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
any age really. And when I'm giving messages for people who are either end of life and the family are coming forward for them to tell them everything's fine and they know, and then they have no fear of passing on that perspective.
Mhm.
But when I'm looking for young men that's missing, or young women, or anything, or child, a dog, or out like that, it does pull at the heartstrings. But for the love and the compassion I have for that individual, when they come through consciously, for example, and Annie might come through consciously and tell me where it is. So then I go to the target, and that's where that bones of that dog is
Yeah.
or the likes of a human being, which is not very nice and it's very difficult to explain where they're at and why aren't they looking at this particular place. It's because sometimes they want the closure, but they want them to be alive. And all these people who've lost somebody like what 20, 30, or like say years gone by, they're still waiting for them to come back.
Yeah.
So obviously if some people do get happy endings that they've just literally gone offline for what 2 or 3 weeks and then they found them.
Mm.
They've come back. Well, what were all the fuss about? My phone won't work and this kind of thing. And I think in the world that we are living in now is because we've got so much tech, you worry more because we haven't got the tech to find them, you know? So it worries people that they can't find that person because they haven't got a phone. But in your consciousness, if it's family or whether it's somebody that you know, being able to view where they're actually at is another, and knowing full well that they're alive. Now, some 7 years ago, a young lady gone travelling with two friends. and it was a lady in the village where I lived. And she said to me, "Have you seen the news?" No. Well, my daughter's gone travelling and there's been an earthquake. Oh, I said, I didn't know. Where's the earthquake?
Mm.
Lombok in Bali, an island off Bali. I says, and what's that?" She says, "Well, my daughter's in that earthquake." Well, my heart sank.
Yeah.
She was similar age to my daughter, so I gave her a hug. And I said, "Oh my goodness me." I said, and for some reason I just said, "Have you got anything of hers?" She said, she asked me to look after this moonstone ring of hers. So I put it in my hand and it took me to Bali, this ring. The energy of this ring took me to where she was. I asked where she was. So I came out of my body. I went to Bali. I could see her. Knew what she was wearing, how she was feeling. I felt like I was her. That's
Okay.
how close I was to her. I could see where she was. There were a drop off at the side, trees. There were fluffy at the top, bare at the bottom. She was with 20 people. She was hot, she was sweaty, and she was safe. Now, bearing in mind, I'm telling this to a police officer in question,
Mm.
and I'm saying to her that her daughter's fine. Now, what had happened is she'd gone into a cafe in Bali, in Lombok, and collapsed. And this gentleman, this cafe said she's dehydrated, she needs to get to a hospital. So the day before the earthquake, he took her to a hospital. She was on a drip for 12 hours to rehydrate. She then came back to the cafe to tell him and ring her mum to tell her that she'd collapsed in this cafe in hospital and she's not flying on the next flight at 1 o'clock to Australia with two of her friends because she wasn't well enough.
Mhm.
Bearing in mind her two friends had already left. So they'd left her in this cafe in Lombok, which I thought was a dreadful thing for them to do.
Mhm.
But the gentleman at the cafe said he'll look after her, so she's ringing her mum to tell her the situation. While she's on the phone, the earthquake struck. I think it was 8.9 on the Richter scale.
Well,
So everything around her's falling down. She got cut off from the phone call because the masts are down, and she's literally running for her life. She runs out of the cafe and she looks for the nearest hill and heads for it because somebody shouted tsunami. So she's running and kept falling because she's still exhausted from the drip from the night before. Fortunate for her, there was a guy in a motorbike who put her on the back and took her up to the hillside. And this is where I saw her on the hillside. I even knew what she was wearing, right down to the flip-flops. It was just mind-blowing stuff. So I said to her, everything's fine, she's all right. 15 hours later, she gets signal on this phone.
mm,
Bearing in mind her mother had tried every avenue to get information from the island, there were none. So everything I've just told you, she relayed it back to her mother without prompting.
mm,
So she rings me and she just said, "Oh my goodness, you're not going to believe this." And she told me everything what I'd had said to her. So you can imagine how I felt at that time, knowing full well that she was safe and well,
yeah.
but also for a mum to realise that what I'd given to her was something I didn't know I had.
Mhm.
So it took me on a roller coaster of doing many more of that kind of thing. So that's where I'm at today. So the fortunate I spoke to the young lady since, and she thanked me for giving her mum that evidence and information, 15 hours afterwards and while she was still in Bali. And then her mum flew out then to her and everything was sorted.
Mm.
But when I think about what the blessings that was offered to offer that young lady and her mother a lifeline really to say that she was okay.
Mm. So that's another example to use those abilities in a very, very important way, So um, that said, what do you think? How can we bring this more into our society? So how can we bring more acceptance for topics like this in our society? How can we bring more people to use and develop their own abilities, to believe in these abilities? So how what do you think? What can be ways to send this in into reality through our society, to develop our society a bit more in the a bit more in the okay, so here I have to do a cut. um, um, consciousness. Yeah.
Understand
To,
how
to,
we can use
um,
these abilities
yeah,
to
to
make
bring
it a
this,
better world, really, for
and
everybody to understand
to
that we
make
all
it a better
actually have
world.
the ability.
Yeah,
Yes.
to bring this society in a better consciousness.
Okay. So for me, for people to understand that is to understand themselves, first of all. Take away the fear and how they'll allow the love to come in.
Mhm.
Allow to love themselves, how to meditate and to get to know themselves. That's the important thing. Meditation has been around for centuries. We've all lost our way of doing that, which is a natural thing. You can be washing up and you're meditating. You could be ironing, you're meditating. The television's on, but you're not watching it, so you're meditating. But you need to make it purposeful. So you could sit in that particular place at that particular time and say, for that 10 minutes or 15 minutes in the silence and saying, what do I need to know today? What can I do to make the world a better place? And then the answers will start to be seek you out. So then you can write them down and then you can put them out into the world through a lecture, through a podcast, through anything else. Yeah, so people then get to know. And the more people get to know what is out there and what is available, it encourages others. So then you're becoming a collective. And then when it becomes a collective, the majority of the planet will understand that through meditation is key to understanding who you are and what you can offer others.
Yeah. So with that said, Mandy, I could talk for hours about this topic, and I guess we will definitely catch up with another interview or with a lecture. We will see. And I really, really hope there is the possibility that we meet in person in a couple of weeks. So I really hope that we can sort this out.
Yes,
And so yeah, I really it was a pleasure for me, and I really thank you for your time.
you're
So,
welcome.
and yeah, with that said, I really wish you a nice day, and hope to see you soon again here in the Institute or in person. And so, yeah, bless you and thanks a lot.
Thank you.